Good morning. Happy Friday. Welcome to the Pitch Strike Chronicles. I'm Uncle Tats. I'm here with Rob. And, it's bad enough we have a GM that we don't like. We have an owner that we're confused about his intentions. We have a manager that, once the game starts, has no clue what he's doing. To throw the cherry on top, the one guy that we felt was not making a significant impact, but was putting some players in the right direction, and the hitting coach decided, he decided not to come back due to family issues. No issue. I have no problem with that. It wasn't, at least it wasn't the Yankees' decision. It was his own. But it really leaves, the offense is constantly in a state of despair, it seems, and without leadership. I think that is a huge problem going into this offseason. You want to improve the offense. You want to try to get free agents to want to come here. If they don't know who their go-to guy is, that does not bode well in the free agent market, in my opinion. Do you agree with that? What's your take on it?
I think at least it gives them an opportunity to build the whole system back up from scratch, because they did say like there was some disconnect between the minor league system and what they were teaching at the major league level. So if anything, this will be a chance for them to be like, all right, we're going to get a new system, new coaches in place for the hitting department in all levels, the minor leagues up into the major leagues. So maybe that'll give them a chance to do that. I mean, I understand why Casey's not coming back, but I'm not really going to miss him, to be perfectly honest. I know what he's doing, and I'm, glad he's putting family first before anything else. But I don't think it's a big loss for the Yankees, if we're being honest. We didn't see much improvement. The on base got a little bit better. The at bats got a little bit better. Anybody was taking off under Sean Casey's teachings. It's not like we saw Volpe go from being a mediocre guy to this all-star level hitter. I wanted to see that with a lot of the young players. And the only one that really showed significant improvement under him was DJ. But DJ's a professional hitter to begin with. So I think this will give the Yankees a chance to kind of rebuild it from scratch, top to bottom, and get a whole new system in place. And hopefully it works from single A all the way to the major leagues. This way we won't see a rookie come up and they have to change his stance immediately. So I'm optimistic about it. I was on board. If Casey did come back, I wouldn't have been opposed to it, but I'm not going to lose sleep over it.
No, I think it's one of those situations where we really didn't get a chance to see the full effect of what he was, working with. What was he showing some of these guys? I think one of the things that had a lot of us rallying around him was when he just turned to Peraza and goes, "Look, just go back, just go back to your old leg kick. It was working for you. Just go with what was working." And it took a while for everything else all the mechanics to fall back into place with his instructions. So I don't think we got a full scope of what his impact would have been. I hope that, his decision, not to come back, I hope it works in his favor, for his family's sake. What I do agree with that I wasn't really thinking about was the opportunity for that to rebuild the coaching staff and just pretty much have a complete reset. That'll work if other things change as well. We need a new analytical team. I think they're the first that's got to go. Right? I think all these analytics and these guys trying to to change, and they've been here for a few years. They've been coming through the system. So it's not like they have to learn something new. It's something that they have to be retaught how to be a professional baseball player. The proper hitting coach can do that. We saw, we saw the changes from Rothschild to Matt Blake, and it was almost instantaneous. We saw the differences. Matt Blake, not that he's free from any criticism, the fact that our starters don't go deep into games to me is a problem, but that also goes onto the analytical umbrella. So it's you have all these branches of the coaches, and nothing is making sense. Nobody is making an impact. I think the only one, I'm even starting to question if Harkey, as the bullpen coach, has run his course. As much as I really trust our bullpen really avoids the good year, bad year narrative that you see a lot of bullpen arms have. The bullpen is, for the most part, very consistent, and Harkey gets the credit for that. If you're going to do a complete overhaul now with the coaching staff, I don't think the pitching coaches are immune to any of the criticisms.
I'm hoping that the landscapers out there don't get picked up on the mic, but they're right outside the window. Anyway, I don't. Okay, good. I don't think the pitching staff or the coaching staff or the pitchers isn't. I don't think they're going to get touched. As long as Blake's still here, our pitching's been really good despite injuries. You can expect a better year from Rodon. You need a better year from Rodon. Maybe if you get Yamamoto, that'd be great. I think Cortez, if he's healthy, will be a lot better. They don't need him to be an all-star. They just need to be good. We saw Michael King in a short amount of time really take off as a starter. Clark Schmidt had a solid year after a rough start. The bullpen was really good despite the injuries and constant changing and not really having a manager that knows how to use a bullpen. The bullpen was still pretty good, even though with the inconsistencies at the closing spot, we really can't complain about the bullpen. It was top in baseball for pretty much the entire season. I think the pitching staff is fine. I think you keep that system in place from major league to minor league level in the pitching department. But the offense has been an issue for a while. Even last year, the first half of the season, it took off. And then the second half, it fell flat and it carried over into this year for an entire season. We didn't really have a good offense all year. Maybe for a few weeks in May, and up until Judge ran into that wall, the offense was okay. That's about it. So the offense really needs a change altogether. Analytically, coaching, everything needs to change for the offense. If this team wants to get back to the playoffs, back to a World Series, and win a World Series, they have to go through an entire change systematically because it's broken. It is a broken system. It's been broken for a while. It was broken with Lawson. It was broken with Kevin Long. And it all starts with who's running the show. Cashman and that analytical staff, they just don't know what they're doing because Kevin Long went to Philly and the Phillies haven't really had a lot of trouble up until the last two games of the series. But overall, they were a good hitting team. And Kevin Long was criticized every single day when he was with the Yankees because we just couldn't hit in key spots. So you think about that. How many hitting coaches have we gone through in the last decade? It's about 3 or 4 now. So that's a big change for a team that has a lot of good hitters. It's a lot of good hitters on this team, and yet we still have to find ourselves getting another hitting coach coming up next year. So, I mean, that has to really open the Yankees' eyes and be like, it's the system that isn't working here. Maybe it's not the coach; it's the way we have our system run. Because last year they were, up the last few years they were playing point system games in the minor leagues. It wasn't really teaching them the fundamentals. It was just let's see how far you can hit it and you get a point or something like that. I forgot how Ben Ruda put it in the chat or his interview, but it was almost like a video game, and that's how they were running their system. That's not how you build a major league team. I'm sorry. Sometimes you got to go old school, teach the fundamentals, and then you can bring in the analytical approach as they get further and further up the ladder. But you can't just have them be like, all right, you hit the ball over 100 miles an hour. Here's a point. Give them a ribbon while you're at it, because that's just, and we're seeing it. We're seeing so many talented hitters come up through the system and just kind of fall flat on their face once they get here. That's the sign of a bad system, in my opinion.
Yep. Yeah, I see the chat's really on fire right now. We appreciate you all hanging out with us this morning. And first off, before we really do a complete roll call, happy birthday to NFE. We love you, bro. I hope you enjoy your day. You got Devin in the build. TC Steels is in the building. Medina. We got Spencer's here hanging out with us. Stephen B. D-Rod is actually awake for us today. Love it. Miss you in the mornings. So one of the we could go into breaking down the whole, what they should do, what they can do. Good morning, Jonathan. It's everybody's throwing names out there. This guy should be, they should look at this guy. They should look at that guy. Pete Simonetti threw out there two names that I don't want to really dive too much into this because there's other things I want to get to. He brought up Tino Martinez and Nick Swisher as two options for the replacement for the hitting coach. Tino would get the nod for me. I'm not sure about Swisher. I know he was a good ball player, but he wasn't that prolific hitter. What do you think of those two names that Pete put out there?
I actually really like the idea of Swisher, but I also wouldn't mind seeing Tino back in the dugout. But at the same time, if he comes in and they try getting Tino to do things different from what he wants to do, like we know Tino's from the old school. He's from the 90s. He was there during that time period. He might embrace analytics, but it's going to be a situation where Tino might want to do more old school, and that could cause a disconnect. So let's just say, hopefully it's not the case, but if Tino comes in, I've said this several times, if you bring in guys from that 90s dynasty, and if they struggle, if they fail, I don't want to say fire Tino. I don't want to say get rid of Tino. I don't want to be saying that. Yeah. I don't want to say it about Swisher either because I love Swisher at the Yankees. He wasn't the greatest hitter in the world, but he was good. He embraced the Yankee culture. He loved it here. I think Swisher, maybe not as a hitting coach, maybe you bring both of them in, kind of like as a dual thing. If Tino can embrace kind of the new era and bring in some of that old school mentality, and the Yankees go through with that, I guess you got to figure what their system what they want their system to be, and what Tino wants it to be. And I feel like Swisher would be more in tune with what the Yankees want than Tino. So I feel like Tino would be more like a Ron Blomberg with what he wants to teach these guys, and Swisher might be a more, let's see what the numbers say and let's go from there. So I feel like Swisher would be the better fit for what the Yankees want to teach. Now, if the Yankees revamp everything and they go from scratch, you can bring both and kind of have, because they've had 2 hitting coaches or 3 hitting coaches for years. So maybe you go with something like that. But I feel like Swisher is, to me, the better choice for the new school, new approach to the game, whereas Tino could definitely help a lot of the guys coming up through the system. I think both have serve a good purpose, but to me, Swisher would be probably the better choice for analytics, at least.
Yeah, I think they would lean towards Swisher just because, like you're saying, he'd be more of the team player. He would fall more into the analyticals that they want to push. I just don't. They come and go so often. To me, it doesn't matter who they bring in. There are names that you're like, yeah, that would be your go-to guy. Like Paul O'Neill is a name that comes up a lot. He's been brought up in the chat. Yeah, he likes being in the booth. He likes that he doesn't have to travel all the time. He's able to enjoy. I think that's what a lot of us forget about some of these players. From that era, they gave so much to us and the organization. They need to take their foot off the pedal a little bit and enjoy their family time. and I don't think there's any, you can't criticize that at all. But I think I don't think it's really going to be like this hot topic for going forward. But the fact that when Sean Casey decided not to return, it does warrant bringing it up. Uh, the other thing that came out was that the Yankees had reached out and opened the conversation. Some say it never. Some say it didn't happen. Some say it did. Reaching out to San Diego about what it would take to get the conversation started with Soto. Uh, is this smart for the Yankees to start putting the feelers out? Does this give you confidence that they're taking this offseason at least seriously for a change?
It depends on who you want to believe. Do you want to believe Martino or do you want to believe Heyman? That's because Martino is the one who said, "Oh, they've opened the conversation," but then Heyman, who's kind of like a Yankee mouthpiece, was like, "Oh no, that hasn't happened." So I don't know who to believe, but if we're gonna play both sides, let's just say they did open up those conversations.
Yeah.
That would tell me either they are definitely serious about changing things up, or this is another Brian Cashman lip service to say, "Well, at least I tried." Because we've done that. We've had this same conversation with Brian Cashman for several different players, where it's like we kicked the tires. That's what he says. They kick the tires on everybody. Brian Cashman is a professional tire kicker. That's what he does. If there was an award for the best tire kicker in Major League Baseball, he'd win it every single year. And that's what he's supposed to do when you're the New York Yankees. You're supposed to kick those tires. But I'm hoping this is more of a we want him and what's it going to take to get him? Because if you do it now, obviously you can't make a trade. But if you start having these conversations now and you get an idea of what San Diego's going to want, it'll allow you to pivot a lot quicker. Because like I said the other day, if San Diego is saying we want Dominguez and we want this guy and this guy and this guy, I think there's only maybe two players that are off the table. That to me, that'd be Dominguez and Thorpe. Everybody else can be on the table in a trade. They won't ask for infielders because they don't need them. So I'm talking like more prospect guys and maybe a Michael King or a Clark Schmidt. But if they start being like, well, it's going to take Dominguez and Volpe, the Yankees got to hang up. As much as I want Juan Soto, they can't give away Volpe now after not giving him up several years ago in several different trades. You've already given him that kind of that label as the future. You've passed up on all the shortstops. We know how it went. But if you feel like a deal can be done, then once the offseason's open and ready for business, you go do it. Go get him and get that move done. But it does give me them the opportunity to be like, all right, we're not going to make this happen. They maybe don't want to trade him unless they're overwhelmed in a trade where they have to do it. Then you can just go back. All right, well, Bellinger's the guy. We're going to pay the money instead of the prospects. We're going to get Bellinger for 5-6 years. We can move him to first base when the time is right. We can keep Spencer Jones. He's the future in the outfield, whether it's left or center. We get Dominguez healthy, and we roll from there. And that's not a bad plan B. But I think this is an opportunity for us to be like, all right, let's see what it's going to take. Let's see if San Diego's actually serious about moving him. Because if they're like, well, you got to blow us away, then the Yankees got to be like, all right, well, we're not doing this. And maybe they explore it back at the deadline or something if San Diego falls out of the race. But I'm hoping that it's true because that tells me they're getting a very early start on what they want to do. I'm hoping that Martino's report was right instead of Heyman.
Yeah, what's going on, Mr. Barrows? Good morning. I want to bring this comment up here from FJ. And, San Diego can't ask for much for Soto as last year. He only has one season of control, which lowers San Diego's leverage. I think that's an excellent point. The price went down. And they had, Cashman has to recognize that. And I think that's something he's shown that he has more he doesn't like giving up the big names for just anybody. And like I said, it all depends on who that who's the who are they focusing on for the from the Yankees? But when you bring up the fact that you know with Bellinger as the plan B, I think that's more of a plan A, a 1A rather. Soto is one, Bellinger is 1A because you can get a lot out of both players. It'll give time for Spencer Jones to develop a little more. The Yankees aren't handcuffed for the outfield. Last year, with the left field situation, there were players that just weren't ready quick enough. We didn't have, Dominguez, we knew wasn't going to be ready. L'Oreal, they never gave a fair chance to. And they did have, they were banking on Hicks giving you just a little bit more. We didn't even need a lot more from him. We needed just a little bit more. We just needed him to show that he could stay healthy. If he was staying healthy and putting up, average numbers and not, the superstar numbers that got him his contract, I think we're less hostile towards him. It's they banked on a lot. It's not that it's how could it's hard to just say you'll give up on players when you don't even know if you're giving up, that Aaron Judge type of player. Like they're really hyping up Spencer Jones. It makes me very nervous when they hold on to kids like that. We've heard this before. We've been through this. We all know the names of these guys that he's the future. He's the future. Well, the sad part is about that narrative, the future never comes. We're in the present right now. We need impact now, not 5 years from now. You have Judge and you have Cole in that hitting that prime. You cannot throw that away. If it's going to take Spencer Jones to get a Soto, go for it. If you just have to end up paying Bellinger while Jones gets proper development, if they make significant changes in the front office, you can always slide him over to first when you move on from Rizzo. So either way, it can be a win. And, LI says all the time, what's going on, LI? You can always still go after Soto next year in free agency. You're just taking the gamble that he's going to be comfortable wherever he gets traded to, if he gets traded. It's not like they're saying he's guaranteed to be traded. They didn't come out and say that. Everything right now is just speculation with San Diego. They might flip the script and flip the narrative where Tatis is the guy that's available, because they want to clean up their, the image of San Diego a little bit. They value Soto more than Tatis. We don't know what's going to happen. And nothing can change until after the World Series anyway.
Right.
That's when the agency starts. So it's all speculative right now. What's going on, Jared? But, I'm just, this whole Soto thing, as much as I love talking about it, I wanted him. We all said it a year and a half ago. He should have been in the deadline from Washington. Right? Washington did not like the prospects that were available. And Cashman, being the genius he is, was like, well, we're not going to negotiate. These are the guys that I'm offering to you. And we don't even know if that was true because you don't know what happens on the phone. There's not a reporter sitting there listing the names as they come in the conversation. So who even knows what was going on?
Yeah, and again, D-Rod brings up a good point about they want to eat, they might want to clear some money, and they also want to re-sign Soto, but they have a lot of money tied to Bogarts and Machado and Cronenworth and Darvish and Musgrove, all these guys they've paid. So maybe they do try to move Tatis. And look, if Tatis is available, every team in baseball should be lining up to get him. The dude's a superstar. I know he did some stupid shit that got him, out of the league for a little bit, but he proved it this year. Came back and had a really good season once again. So I think any team in baseball would be lining. I think San Diego would be foolish to move him. I'll say that right now. Be absolutely foolish to move him. He's too damn good to give up on. Um, the thing is, with Soto, every team in baseball would probably line up to get him as well if he's available. And I think San
Yep.
Diego knows that. And like, yeah, their asking price would be down considered they could have traded him at the deadline, but they even though people like, look, you're going to get a full season of one of the best players in baseball, you got to pay up for it. It's going to take Spencer Jones and some prospects. It will, and I don't think. Yeah, I know the Nationals didn't really like Dominguez that much. That was the report, and the Yankees did not want to give up Volpe, so it was kind of a no go, really, because Spencer Jones at that time wasn't our top prospect. So, yeah, I mean, look, if the Nationals didn't like what the Yankees had, you can't really blame Cashman for being like, take my scraps. You really can't. You know the Nationals weren't going to do that. The Padres gave him a better offer from what they liked, but the Padres might like some of the Yankees guys. Padres don't have they don't have a lot of things, D-Rod. They don't have a closer. They can use some starting pitching help. They're going to need an outfielder to replace Soto, and Spencer Jones is pretty close to Major League ready. He would take over in maybe half a season. He'd be in left field in San Diego. He'd probably hit the hell out of the ball there as well. So, look, again, it's all speculation, like you said. Nothing can happen until the World Series is over. And there's still no guarantee San Diego trades him. It's more just to blow us away, and maybe we'll make the move. If not, we're going to go and try to win a World Series with the roster we have. That includes Juan Soto. If they fall out of it again, he'll be available for trade at the deadline. They'll get even less, but at the same time, he'd be the best available bat in trade. They'd still get a pretty good deal for him. But they're kind of running out of chances to trade him because last year at the deadline, you could have gotten a lot. Now the price will go down, and at the deadline, the price will go down. But you'd still get a good return for Juan Soto. You're just going to get less. It's all up to what they want to do. Yankees can't force the Padres to say yes unless they're giving them too much. Unless they're giving them too much. But we'll just have to wait and see. There is no wrong choice. If it's like, if you get Soto or Bellinger, are we really going to be like, wow, how could you pass up on Juan Soto? It's, again, the Padres kind of hold the keys to everything here because they don't have they don't have to trade him. They don't have to, but it's the same thing as Brian Reynolds. Pirates did not have to trade him. They had, it's a different situation with the contract, but it's like the Pirates could have held on to him for 2 more years and not extended him. If they really wanted to, they could have just held on to him for another 2 years and been like, all right, well, now he's a rental. Now we can move him. But instead they extended him. Padres can be like, look, we've had him now for 2.5 years. He likes it here. They're going to have a really good chance to re-sign him. Or 2 seasons. So maybe that's what he wants to do. We don't know yet. So we'll just have to wait and see. But it's fun to talk about. It's fun to know that it's a good thing to know that there's at least the Yankees are like, they're linked to Soto immediately and they're linked to Bellinger as well. So at least as fans, that gives us a little bit of hope that Hal is kind of serious right now. And he wants to add to this lineup. The best way you can do it is getting one of those 2 guys. We're not going to get both, but if you get one of those 2 guys, the lineup is immediately better. And I've said this countless times. You put that one big lefty bat between Judge and Stanton, it makes Stanton better, makes the lineup better, and you're going to score more runs. It's simple as that.
No, the other thing that's promising, or not promising, but gives you high hope. The Yankees are not jumping out to debunk any of these reports. So it leads me to believe that, yes, they are going to be heavily involved with Soto. I really think that they are going to have, those phone lines open until there's nowhere to go. If it gets to that point where, like, if San Diego turns around and been like, well, we want Schmidt and Thorpe and Dominguez and Pereira, I'm not overpaying for it. And I know, look, I said balls out Juan Soto. It's Juan Soto. You have to get, you can't mess this up again. You can't pass on another generational talent. But you can't, and it's easy to, and I'm going back on my own word, which I don't like to do. But sometimes as conversations go on, you start looking at things a little different. before Dominguez played his first game, I was not opposed to moving him for Soto because I said Soto is the finished product we hope Dominguez could be. I don't know if because of this injury, I'm second guessing having him completely off the table if we get Soto.
Yeah, I mean, I said it like a few weeks ago, right? If that's what it takes, and you guess you get to keep Spencer Jones, I guess you go do it, right? Like if you know you're going to get Juan Soto and maybe you're able to work out an extension with him, no one knows what's going to happen there. But
Yeah,
I think the Yankees would at least entertain the idea. Be like, all right, well, at least we know we'll have Soto for this year and years to come. And Spencer Jones could easily hit like Dominguez because he's got that power and he's a very athletic dude. He can play center field. So if that's what it takes, maybe you go do it. But does San Diego want to do it? That's if the San Diego prefer Dominguez to Jones.
they hold all the cards.
Yeah. But I guess I know I just said I'd take him off the table in any trade discussion, but this is Juan Soto we're talking about. If we were trying to trade for Cody Bellinger, you probably don't do it. But if
No.
if you're getting Juan Soto and it's like we want to extend him and he's willing to talk extension and you can get that done, then you probably give up Dominguez because you only got 8 games of Dominguez. You saw that he can be really damn good and the future of this franchise. But Juan Soto is that finished product, like you said. Everything is just so it's in that speculation period. Nobody knows anything. I guess we'll just until a trade happens, we'll just have to keep speculating who's on the table, who's not. But I think
right now the only thing we could do is have fun with the names that'll be involved. You know who's the proper source to listen to. It's gonna be fun because everybody's got a different. Even though we all want Juan Soto, a lot of us are looking at it through different lenses, which I think just really keeps the context of the conversation from dying out. And just becoming a boring topic. It's if it was one of those, well, we know he's going to make his decision after the new year. If they're if the Padres are going to put him on the market, until it gets close to that point, there's no point in talking about it. It could happen the day free agency opens up. Once the phone line, once you're able to start making calls, it could be done that day. And just so that keeps the conversation going. But what's going on, Damien? And who else did we see in there? Miguel Batista. Good morning, guys. It's Soto Dominguez. I think is that guy that can be looked at as a generational guy. I really do think so. I think he's got that way about him. I think the way he carried himself while he was here, the immediate impact that he had, with the bat when he came up, with the home run, right, we didn't even have to wait. Before you sat down, boom, he's got one on his record already. It's just imagining having fucking Soto, Dominguez, and Judge in that outfield. It is almost like a Yankee fan's dream come true. We've been waiting for we've been waiting to have stability in the outfield for so long now. And I think that's what's keeping us going and keeping us in because that's what we want. I think that's the focus of the offseason for the Yankee fans. I think that's the key word right there, stability. I that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, and look, I know a lot of people are like, no, don't trade Dominguez. I don't want to trade him. I said at the start of the show, he's untouchable, in my opinion. But if that's what it took to get Soto on board and get him extended, you might have to think about that because Soto is not 30, 33. He's a 25-year-old superstar. But I don't want to trade Dominguez because we talked about, how you can market players. How like the dude's nickname is the Martian. He's been nicknamed that since he was 16 years old, and we're already hearing about it. There's merch out there, and I'm sure when he's coming back next year, you're going to see some bobbleheads at the stadium with him with a UFO or something, whatever it may be. You can't. I'm not trading him. Look, I'm not trading him. If it's up to me, he's not going anywhere. I'm just saying from the Yankees' perspective, they might think about that. If that's what it took to get Soto here and extend him. But at the same time, we know the Yankees want to they want to save money. Juan Soto is going to cost you 50 to 40 something odd million, where Dominguez is going to be here for years on that team friendly rookie contract before pre-arbitration, then arbitration. You're going to save a whole ton of money. So look, I don't think at the end of the day, they're not trading him. They're never going to trade him, even for a Juan Soto. But I guess just for the sake of conversation, if the question is, would you trade him if it meant Soto got extended? I'd at least entertain the idea. But I would really want to know what else it's taken to get him. Because I'm not giving you Dominguez and Thorpe and Schmidt and King and all these guys. Like, look, now you're asking for too much. But if it's like Dominguez and another couple of prospect pitchers or something, maybe you think about it. Maybe. Again, me personally, I don't do it. I want this dude as a Yankee for his life. That he needs to be here for his entire career. He's a Yankee lifer. But we'll just have to, again, all wait and see. I think if San Diego says, all right, we want Dominguez, the Yankees immediately hang up the phone. That's how I see it playing out. But again,
I can see it playing out that way too, but I don't know if that should be, I don't think it's smart to go that tactic. It's, you have to peel back the fine print. And, like you were saying, you need to know what's involved with that. But, FJ throws in here, do we think that anything will be done before or after the winter meetings? I say after. I think they're going to allow other teams to properly evaluate themselves to see what they can do to get Soto from the Padres. If the Padres make him available officially, you're going to see that. I also, teams are going to be cautious of what they do because he still has the year of control. But you also have Ohtani's going to be, is a free agent. And teams are going to pay him. So that's also going to offset the budgets for some of these teams. I'm not going to say all because we know that there are teams that are not even they can't. If they signed him, they'd have to sell the team because they don't have the money to do it. The Marlins are not going to be in on Ohtani. You know what I mean? The Pirates, they're not going to pay for Ohtani. You more, your bigger market areas are going to be in on him. New York, California. Don't be surprised if the Cardinals get involved. They really, the Cardinals are getting ready to redo a lot. I think the Reds are also getting ready to kind of restructure themselves. There's a lot of teams that are going to be in on the open market. That's going to influence what teams have, what they want to do with Soto. And so I think it's going to be after the winter meetings.
Yeah, I don't think anything's happening for a while. You could almost treat this as a star free agent. If the Padres trade Soto, they might wait to see where Ohtani goes. Because a lot of the teams that are going to be in on Ohtani might be in on Soto as well. Like the Mets, Red Sox. I think Seattle's going to be heavily in on Ohtani. San Francisco might be looking to pay for some big free agents because they were going all out for these guys last year. Yeah. So let's just say Ohtani goes to the Mets. That's a pretty significant rumor. even though they told Scherzer they weren't going to pay money for.
Yeah, I mean, that's as believable as any other team. Yeah.
That's actually brilliant on the Mets part. Like they're like, look, we're not going to be 2025. And he's like, all right, trade me. And they got a top prospect back. That was actually very nice little poker face there by Steve Cohen. But anyway, screw the Mets. But let's just say if they do get Ohtani, then every other team that wanted him is going to be like, what's it going to take for Soto? Because everyone that wants Ohtani knows they're not getting Ohtani the pitcher this year. They're getting the hitter. So how do you, they wanted the big bat. How do you replace that? How do you get the next big bat? That's Soto in a trade, or you go after Bellinger. Yankees are going to have a ton of competition for those two guys. That's why they have to act quickly, because they know everyone's going to be looking to get Ohtani and then trade for Soto if he's available. The Yankees have to act quickly, but I really do think Seattle's going to be heavily in on Ohtani. I think Boston's going to be a team to watch for him. I really do. Boston wants to get back to the playoffs as well. So do the Yankees. I think the Red Sox, Mets,
Boston
Mariners.
have a tendency to be sneaky after a bad season.
Yeah. And I think San Francisco as well. I think they're really going to be – I don't know if they'll – I don't think they're going to trade for Soto, but I think if they might go after Ohtani, because they were willing to spend a lot of money to get Judge, and they were going to get Correa as well, and that fell through. So maybe they're going to go spend. I mean, again, that's to me, when Ohtani gets signed, that's when Soto is probably going to – we'll get an actual decision on what San Diego wants to do. Because I still don't think they're going to trade him.
But you don't think he's going to be traded?
At the end of the day, I don't think, because they have too much talent on the roster for them to be like, let's move him now. Because they can go next year, for all we know, they can win the West. I know the Dodgers are still there and the Giants are going to be better. Diamondbacks are in the World Series, but Padres are loaded. They're a loaded roster. So it could just take one better year. And you're going to have a full season of Tatis. Machado's still there. They got a really good team. And if they add to it, let's say they go and get a pitcher like a Nola, right? Maybe they go in for Yamamoto. Who knows? Who knows what they can? And I feel like they can really be a team to watch. We've said that the last few years about them, but they're loaded with talent. So it might be better for them to see what they are come August next year. That might be waiting too late for them, but I really don't care how late it is for them. But you got one of the best players in baseball. You still have a roster that's loaded and ready to go. They might give it another shot. Unless they're blown away, I don't think they trade them.
Yeah, it's also the other factor. What's going on, Yankee Kyle? Welcome to the chat. It's good to see you coming to hang out with us a little bit. I think the other thing is, how long can you afford to wait? If guys are coming off the board, I think that's where the Yankees got screwed last year. They waited for their guy for so long, and we're watching every name come off the board. You know, whether they were going to make an impact for us or not. It was more teams were making moves, and the Yankees were still they wanted to get one thing done before they went and did two more things. I think they have to seriously prove that they can multitask and work deals with multiple issues at a time. They cannot wait to do, like last year. We didn't know what was going on with left field because all they kept worrying about was getting the Judge deal done. And then it was, well, we don't know what we're going to be given to Rodon. So then they sat on everybody else. They never even engaged. They can't do that this year. If you're able, you say, if you're able to get a deal with Bellinger, you tip off the Padres. Hey, look, I need to know what your intentions are. Otherwise, I have to move on, and my prospects are not coming to you. If you really like my prospects, we need to get these talks finished. Otherwise, I'm just going to sign the free agent, and you guys can find somewhere else to go. I think they have to have the balls to do that. Does Cashman, can he do it? Yeah. Will he do it? No. Yeah, I have no faith in Cashman this offseason. That phone call, the deal with Soto, Hal has to be at the forefront of it.
Yeah, I But at the same time, I can see Hal being like, go see what it takes and offer up. So give him a list of players that,
Yeah.
yeah. But then it's going to be in Cashman's hands. When it comes to
Well,
trades, I don't think Hal has anything to do with it. I think it's all Cashman, clearly, because look at the players we've gotten in
yeah.
trades. But if it comes to free agency, I think Hal's going to be the guy that might be in those meetings more often than not now. Like if they meet with Bellinger, I think Hal's going to be like sitting there, be like, "Hey, what's it going to take?" And I know Li, I know they're trying to cut money, but at the same time, they can move a couple other players. Like I think Kim's name has been involved. I know he's not getting paid a ton, but they could look to move a Cronenworth or even Carpenter, maybe
Mhm.
move some money there. They can find other ways to shed salary instead of trading Juan Soto. I'm saying they can keep him and still have a really good team that's going to go make a playoff run. That's again, everything that happens with Juan Soto is completely up to San Diego. They don't have to move him. They don't. And that's why I don't think he's going to get traded. If the Yankees have a chance to go get him, though, they got to kick those tires as he does every year and see what it's going to take. And then if they play hardball, like I said several times at this point, move on, move on. That's why I'm hoping that this is true, that they've already had those conversations.
I think the problem with some of with dumping the money, and other names that are coming up, we have to address our outfield before anything else. I prioritize the outfield over the rotation. You know, you have. I mean, yeah, I want the multitasking narrative. I'm not going away from that, but that has to be the priority. It has to be. They they cannot screw this outfield up again. You cannot, you know, well, we still have a year of control for, whether, throwing names out there, Cordero and McKinney. We can't do that again. We can't sign IKF to a cheap deal to cover the outfield till Dominguez comes back. That ain't gonna cut it. And no disrespect to IKF. He played his ass off for this team. He was a team player. He's not a great outfielder, but we didn't lose any games because of him. So we also didn't win any games because of him either.
Yeah.
But he's right down the middle there. So I don't want to throw shade on him, right? Because it wasn't his fault. He just, hey, wherever you guys need me to play, I'll play. Just let me stay here. He wanted to be here. So that's why I give him the credit that I do. It's got to be, if you're not discussing Soto with the Padres, you have to be talking to Bellinger's agent. That's it. All right. I appreciate you, Kyle, sharing us on the tab. We really do. Uh, it's they have to get left field or center field taken care of. But more left field, because when Dominguez comes back, he's our center fielder. That's got to be focus number one. And then you could also worry about talking with Yamamoto. Let Hal worry about the Padres. Brian worry about Yamamoto.
I think, like, we know the Yankees are going to have a certain dollar figure with what they want to get to with the payroll. I don't know if they want to go to 290 again or 293, whatever it is. But I think there was somewhere where I read they can afford Bellinger and Yamamoto and still get under a certain number. Like, I think to avoid the third threshold. So maybe that's the route they go. But at the same time, if that's what they do, if they kick the tires on Soto, he's going to get a huge dollar figure in arbitration. We're talking maybe 30 million plus.
And it wasn't. His arbitration number isn't established this year, right?
I mean, there's rumors about the number, but he's going to get a lot of money. He had a career year in terms of home runs. He had another really good season, another 400 on base year. He was an absolute monster. So last year of arbitration, he's going to get a lot of money. In terms of budget, it might benefit the Yankees to be like, if you get Bellinger for 25 and Yamamoto for 20 something, because that's probably the number it's going to take, might be better for the Yankees to be like, let's pay 50, 60, 50 some odd million for two players instead of 30 to 35 for one. I don't know. Maybe you go that route. I don't know what the numbers are going to be. Nobody knows. But if you go by market value and projected salaries, the Yankees might benefit them to be like, let's go get Bellinger. Let's go get Yamamoto. Maybe you re-sign Wandy. You can make a couple of trades. You move Torres. Maybe you call up, you move Torres for like a couple of younger controllable arms, or maybe one. You go to St. Louis and get an infielder back from them. You trade from your now pitching depth, because if you get Yamamoto, that puts Clark Schmidt potentially on the market, and you can move him. You can shed some salary there. The Yankees could be very creative this offseason. So that's why I'm not putting all my eggs in the Soto basket, because I'd be perfectly fine because I think if we get Soto, we're not getting Yamamoto. That's how I see it. I think if they go all in for Soto, they're going to be like, all right, we got the big bat. We're going to make some smaller moves with the bullpen, maybe get like a Candelario type of signing, and you still trade Torres to get another switch hitter lefty bat in here, and that would be it. But I feel like if they go the free agent route and they hold on to their prospects, they can actually do a lot more things creatively. I think you can. I know Pete put it up last week, like, you get Soto and Yamamoto, but let's say that's Bellinger, Yamamoto, and you trade for Brendan Donovan. You trade Torres to Miami for Edward Cabrera. I know people aren't going to like that because Torres has had a great year and Cabrera's kind of struggled, but I'd be willing to see what Matt Blake can do with Cabrera. And that's a pretty good offseason right there. And then you can go with you re-sign Wandy and you try to figure out who the closer is. And then you go with the whole change in the front, change with the hitting staff and all that. That could be a really good offseason. And you're not asking the Yankees to do too much. You're asking them to trade from their now pitching strength. Because if you got Yamamoto, there's really no need to have Schmidt and King and Nestor. I know everyone likes to have as much pitching as possible, but you're not going to move Schmidt back to the bullpen. And King at this point, I don't know if he goes back to the bullpen. So you can sell high on one of those two guys. St. Louis needs pitching. They have plenty of infielders. Edman, Donovan, Gorman, I think, can play the infield as well. The Yankees and Cardinals match up very well. And I love what Pete put up on there the other day. That plan is actually really good, and I think it could work if it's Bellinger. I know he said Soto, but if it's Bellinger, Yamamoto, let's say it's Brendan Donovan, and you add another bullpen arm, whether it's Wandy or you make another trade, you can save some money and still have a really good team next year. And you're also keeping Spencer Jones tab as the future in your left field with Dominguez and Judge, and you don't have to do too much crazy stuff, and you still have a team that's loaded up and ready to go back and hopefully get a championship.
And well, let's speaking of championships. The World Series is about to begin, so let's give a few minutes to that because I love the World Series. I really do. I don't care who's in it. Obviously, I prefer my team, but I'm not that lucky anymore to be in it every year. Who do you got? Are you favoring the Rangers or the Diamondbacks?
Texas should be the favorite. But I think Arizona is going to win it. I don't know why. Because power wins, and the Texas Rangers have more power. Diamondbacks pitching has been pretty damn good when they needed it to be, and who knows? I just got this feeling that the Diamondbacks are going to win it, but it would not shock me one bit if Texas just rolled them and swept them. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. But I'm going to say Arizona in 7. I want it to go to 7.
I always want Game 7. There's nothing better in sports than a do or die game. I love that shit. That win or go home. That's when athletes are at their peak competitiveness. The reason that I would lean towards the Rangers is 2 reasons: revenge for 2001 on the Diamondbacks and Montgomery. I just want Monty to be as successful as possible. I want him going in. I would love for him to go into the off season with a World Series title, and just really get what he deserves out of it. The Diamondbacks, though, it wouldn't bother me if they won either. Like, I don't have a favorite. I mean, I'm leaning. Actually, I do. I am leaning more Texas. It's. I like the young teams. I think, especially as they keep advancing game by game, you could just see the confidence just fucking oozing from the Diamondbacks right now. They're ready, and even though they're a young team, they fight. I mean, look what they did to the Dodgers. Look how they fought the Phillies. Winning a do or die game on the road. I also think the home field advantage is not an issue. I think that's a non-issue this year. The road teams have been fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
They have played their best games on the road. So I think this is going to be not for the national market, but in the diehard baseball fan market, this is, like D-Rod said, this is going to NFC also. This World Series is going to be exciting. I'm really, it's going to be nail biters. There's going to be blowouts. Like I'm ready for all of it.
Bring the chaos. I just want to answer a quick question because Li put up a little bit ago. He asked if I would Clark Schmidt for Tommy Edman and move Volpe to second. I would keep Volpe at short. I would put Tommy Edman at third and have Peraza play second. That's what I would do. I know I would be fine with Peraza at third as well, but I feel like Edman can play third really well. And I don't want to move Volpe. He might win a Gold Glove this year. He had a good defensive season. It's not like he was IKF bad. He wasn't Gleyber Torres bad. He had some hiccups, but I feel like he can get better. He's 21, right? He's still young. There's still plenty of room for improvement. I don't want to move Volpe yet. So I love Tommy Edman. I brought him up several times over the last couple of months. So I'd get Tommy Edman. I'd put him at third. I'd put Peraza at second. You got speed, contact, good defense there with Edman. And I like Clark Schmidt as well, but I'd be willing to move on from him, especially if it means I get Yamamoto. This would mean that Torres is traded, and you have Peraza tabbed as a second baseman, which is what Hal said all along. Volpe and Peraza up the middle. I think at this point we know Volpe is going to be the shortstop. Peraza put him at second. You know he can play there. Edman can do third. And hey, there's another switch hitter. Now you got another lefty. You bring in Bellinger. You got Rizzo back. You got Wells back, Florial. You're going to get Spencer Jones and Dominguez. All of a sudden, guess what the Yankees have in their lineup? Some goddamn balance, and things are going to be looking up a little bit better. I really like Tommy Edman, and I'd be 1,000% on board getting him.
Yeah, I'm not moving Volpe. You don't get nominated. You're not in contention for a Gold Glove by accident. It's not a consolation prize.
Right.
If he wins it, look what we did with what's going on, Christopher Flash. It's not like when, we traded for IKF. He was a Gold Glove third baseman. We put him at shortstop. All right, and I'm not saying any of these players are comparable, but the situation could be comparable. We all were pissed off. Why'd you get a Gold Glove third baseman if you're not going to play him at third? Why would you call up a shortstop that in his rookie year wins a Gold Glove? Why would you want to move him from that?
Right.
We're lucky. We should just be happy enough that we have two high caliber players on that side of the infield. That's why I like Peraza at third. I think having those two guys on that side of the field, that's like having a fucking wall. So that's why I would leave Peraza at third. But if we were able to, if he has to go to another position because of a play we bring in, it would be second base. But I would move Torres before I do anything. I'm not getting an Edman or anybody else for the infield until Gleyber that the ink is dry. Right. We can't have another year. You know what I mean? We can't. Well, we know this deal is going through. No, if unless the ink is dry, look at the Marlins did to us last year, and that fucked up our whole trade deadline. They got to be very, very cautious of how they align. They arrange that infield.
Yeah, and Ella, I get it. I get because I think Arias is going to be really good as well, but he's still a couple of years away. So I guess it would
That's
make
fine.
sense to do it now, move him to second base now, so he can have a couple of years under his belt. But then, what do you? I guess Edman would be under contract for 2 more years. It kind of lines up perfectly. So I get what you're saying. I do, but I personally, I'm not moving Volpe. I think he played fine. I know his arm strength needs to get a little bit better for sure, but he was fine at short. There's definitely things he needs to improve on, but I don't want to move him yet. Again, he wasn't bad.
In let's say 3 years, Arias is ready to go. That's fine. I'm not moving, a Gold Glove nominee after a rookie Gold Glove nominee in year 2. Year 3 or 4, you want to make some adjustments. That's fine, but not the very next year. Eli, is that a fair compromise here? I don't want to move him at all. But yes, I trust in what Dane Huber says, who does the Yankees farm report for NYY Underground. I believe what he says. If he says that he's going to be a stud, no problems there. But I'm not moving a stud right now. I'm not moving. I'm not going to call Volpe a stud yet. He's got to work on his battle a little bit.
Yeah,
but it's just, yeah, he's got his average up.
Averaging on base, and he'll be fine.
Yep. But that is going to wrap things up for us on this Friday. Just make sure you tune in. I think tomorrow they're doing the Upper Deck show. Will be the special with Julian Giardi. So make sure you tune into that. I will be on vacation, but Rob and Donald will be here next week and keep the conversations going. So I hope everybody does enjoy their World Series. I might pop in. I might be doing some shorts from vacation. I know I tried the last time, but just never happened. So I am going to try to, keep in touch with everybody that way. So I do hope everybody enjoys their weekend. Enjoy the show with the Upper Deck tomorrow. And as we always say, wear those pinstripes of pride and play hard.